Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are, welcome. In this video, I'll be going through a mini site audit we did for the Geary.co website. To save your time, some preparations were made beforehand just to make things a little bit faster. We generally like to start our audits by looking at a few mistakes commonly made by poor pre-release checklists. My favorite is filler text, lorem ipsum. In defense of the copy-first approach, Smashing Magazine in 2010 wrote an article concerning using lorem ipsum text and highlighted a few cons to using lorem text. The major con being it gets pushed to live sites. Oddly enough, you don't even save time by using lorem text in your designs. Now, without getting into a debate of content first versus design first approach, let's get into our audit. So what you do is you do a site search for the website, you put your lorem ipsum in quotes and you search. We have a match. Let's take a look. Right, how ironic, a page that talks about web design best practices is not following best practices. So here we have filler texts left on this page. Once we find filler text on a website, fact-checking the content becomes mandatory because obviously we don't know if we can trust the site anymore. We have seen instances where lorem texts, copy and paste, and duplicate text generally has ruined reputation of websites and even tanked their traffic. So let's go through this. The first one is cards. This is a category description we still need to fill out. Right. So the description of cards itself has filler text. We are starting to see a pattern of low quality content, and this is a page readers are expected to learn best practices in quotes from. Let's just keep going. So let's look at one link per destination. Cards should not contain more than one clickable elements leading to the same destination. Now, this is good advice. Additional links on cards introduce confusion for users and increase unnecessary stops in the process. This does not only result in a cluttered list of links on your page, but also negatively impacts SEO by wasting crop budget. So this is very good advice. Heading is first DOM element. Well, any element may come first virtually. Visually, the heading element should be the first content element in the DOM. Okay. This is also highly recommended and should be implemented for every section of content that contains a header. Now, because a lot of people navigate the web using headings, if headings are not the first object in a section of content, the content preceding the headings might not be perceived by, for example, blind users navigating using headings. So when they move from heading to heading, if there's content before the heading, they are not going to be able to perceive it. So this is very good advice. Copywriting is an essential part of web site. Good copy drives the user further down the page and ultimately to conversion. So that's true. Good copy should move you down the page. I can't disagree with this. Next we have unique selling proposition. Can't agree with this too. Then problem agitate solution. Defining a problem, agitating it, and then presenting a solution is a battle tested formula for effective copywriting. Now, PASS is indeed a battle-tested framework, but is not necessarily a best practice for copywriting. There are a few other frameworks, and depending on the type of copy, the stage of awareness being targeted, and even the degree of urgency, different frameworks can be better suited. An example of a few frameworks could be the IDA, the BAB, the 4Cs, PPPP, SSS, FAB. You can even throw in StoryBrand in the mix. So I think we should do a little copywriting audit of the homepage and see if the website is actually practicing what they preach, and if any type of conversion copy or copywriting has been used. I have the homepage open here. The first thing I notice is the micro copy on the first CTA. That's this one. Inner circle. The expectation is not clear. So here we have our heading. We have our heading, our header, subhead, then our CTAs. So let's start from the headline. It says always be creating. This is vague. The headline in isolation has no relevance to anything. Always be creating. A headline should be attention grabbing. It should help guide people to what you have to offer. You want your headline to speak to your ideal client if possible and what they desire. Collecting voice of customer data can help with writing a compelling headline. To summarize, a headline should capture attention, communicate core message, and establish relevance. This headline has done none of the above. It is not clear what the core message of the website is or even who it is for. So probably maybe they would have done something like, come on. I help WordPress just to be, sorry. So even though this is vague, it's better than what was there before. But let's just move on. I don't want to spend too much time on this. The subheadline, I'm a husband, father, agency owner. Let me close this. I'm a husband, father, agency owner, WordPress. Look, your subheadline is supposed to reinforce the main message of the headline. It can address specific benefits or features. It could be a list of USPs, for example, like here. The subheadline together with the headline should create a cohesive and compelling message that encourages visitors to stay on the page. They form a powerful duo that sets the tone for the page, entice visitors to explore further, like he said earlier on, and communicate the value proposition effectively. This particular subheadline reads like content that belongs on the About Us page, to be honest. It's not a proper setup for the CTAs, which even happen to be all over the place also. This one says, join my list. What list? Hire me to do what? The headline and the subheadline have not said anything that suggests these things are going to be the next things that come in line. Now, this does not say these CTAs are not going to be clicked, but we're just discussing copy. So, and this list also, it belongs probably in the footer or even in the About Us page. It should not be here. By looking at the content above the fold, I cannot honestly say what this website is about or who it's for. You have 7 seconds to make that clear to people. A good chunk of the marketing budget of your web page should be spent above the fold. Just imagine you are certain nobody would scroll down your web page. What information would you want them to have? Now, that information is what needs to be above the fold, whatever it is for you. So this homepage has failed the 7-second test. Let's scroll down and look at some areas of concern I took note of. Okay, yes, here. A lot of people ask me what to do. What do you do? And I really don't know how to answer them. Good Lord. Not knowing how to answer people that ask what you do suggests a lack of clarity of purpose. If you are not clear on what you do, it will be difficult to make it clear to other people, obviously. This text should not be on the page. It is admitting to little proficiency in copywriting, to be honest. And it says, so here is an overview of what I'm working on right now. Where's the overview? This suggests you are going to take them somewhere, and I can't see a button or a CTA. So I mean, this is just completely wrong. But let's move on. And one thing again, every marketer should have an elevator pitch that answers this particular question. So for example, let's say I'm Kevin and someone says, yo, Kevin, what do you do? I could say something like, I teach WordPress entrepreneurs how to build professional websites that are scalable, maintainable, and dynamic using web development best practices. Is this something you're interested in? It might not be the best elevator pitch, but it's better than, I don't know how to explain, but I can show you. What if the person talking to you is blind? How do you show them? Aha! Right? So let's move on. Where's the next one I saw? Okay, this one. It says, my digital agency that specializes in web design for service-based businesses. It now goes to say, when I teach, I'm not teaching theory. What does digital agency have to do with teaching? All this text is fluff. It's not required. Just start with, I work with digital service-based businesses. It makes more sense, to be honest. And let's see. Okay, looks good. It looks good. It looks good. Then I think this is the end of the page. This is actually a good example of a headline, with the subhead and a list of USPs join the inner circle. it has told you what the inner circle here is. You have an idea what it is. It's just unfortunate this is at the bottom, and probably maybe joining the circle is not the primary objective of this website. If it was, then this whole section should be moved to the top. Very good job done here, but it's at the bottom. Let's move on. Copywriting. Let's move to website accessibility. This is going to be fun. Let me just say one or two things on accessibility. With a lot of businesses in the US being sued and accessibility becoming mandatory in the European Union come summer 2025, every web developer should be paying attention to accessibility. Let me start with skip links. So it says here, skip links allow the user to skip nav elements or page content. That's sort of true. A skip link to skip the main navigation. What? A skip link to skip the main navigation is the no. Probably maybe say something like a link to skip the main navigation. So a link to skip the main navigation is the minimum requirement. Minimum requirement for what? No, there is no minimum requirement as such. Okay, let's just explain what skip links are. Skip links are links used to skip blocks of repeated material on a web page, any block of repeated material. There are at least 3 known techniques for applying skip links. The most common skip link is a link that is the first interactive element on a page. It takes the users directly to the main content past the global elements like the logo, storage, and navigation. It is almost always hidden until it receives focus. I think we can even demonstrate this on this page here. So if I tab, no, we're going back. Come on. Quit playing. So let me just go back. So this is a skip link. Oh, it's hiding behind the image. I can't even read properly. Oh my god. This is why usability testing with real users and accessibility testing are important for issues like this that come up. Well, let's keep going. It said a skip link to skip the main navigation is the minimum requirement. Now, skip links have no minimum requirement. The only scenario where a skip link can be the minimum requirement for anything is when the skip link is the only technique used to achieve the WCAG 2.4.1 bypass blocks. Now, if that's the only technique you have, then we could say it's the minimum for that. We have a post that goes into detail in the inner circle concerning this particular skip link. So just search for understanding skip links if you're a member of the circle and you're going to see the post. For those that do not know, the inner circle is Kevin's community where he teaches web design and development best practices. Right. If you use Bricks Builder, you should check it out. He has some good trainings and even full website builds, so you learn a lot. We'll probably do a review of the inner circle in another video in the future, covering the pros and the cons. We'll talk about who it's for and who it's not for. So back to our regularly scheduled programming. Let's look at the next one. AA contrast compliance. Color contrast is important for accessibility. Check all text combinations for AA contrast ratio compliance. Since we're talking about best practices, let me just clear something up. AA contrast compliance is not regarded as a best practice, especially in accessibility. It's a mandatory success criterion for compliance. That's SC143 contrast minimum level AA. Regardless of the version of WCAG you are trying to conform to, be it version 2.0, which was released in 2008, 2.1, released 2018, or even 2.2, which was just released a few months ago. I think it was October, right? And people seem to fail this a lot. To demonstrate this failure, I'll just use a very small page, this legal page I have here, and I have the DevTools open just so we can just look at this very fast. So if I select this privacy policy, what you see is it has the contrast of 2.0.3. It means every link on this website that's going to be on a white background is going to fail this particular success criteria. But the good thing is this is going to be easy to fix because I know this site uses ACSS. So all Kevin has to do is adjust the the variable. So this is it here. if it changes this action variable, the color will change. What we can do is, let's just see the color here. Let's pull it up. Contrast ratio. Now if you click this here, it's going to show you 2 lines. This would be, once it crosses the first one, you are going to be compliant to AA, the second one AAA. And if you want the same color, just probably maybe a darker or lighter color depending on what the contrast issue is, you could just click here. So you can see this is 4.5 ratio for AAA 7. Let's just click this and it moves down here, and automatically we become compliant. So the contrast is now 4.5.8. Let me see, did I see, sorry, a paragraph? Do they all have paragraph tags? Links should not be in paragraph tags. Not that it's wrong, but this is just extra code, bloat. Anyway, there will be another video I'll talk about bloats. Let's just move on. One other thing with changing this, I even forgot to talk about it. One other thing with changing the color, if you were to go to change maybe probably a brand color or something, you always have to recalculate contrast again. There's actually a more permanent solution for this, but it's beyond the scope of this video. So let's just move to the next one. Heading is the first DOM element. Isn't this repeated content? We've seen this. Heading is the first DOM element. Heading is the first DOM element. You know what? Probably since we're talking about accessibility, let me just pause and get my over-verify set up. Okay, I have over-verify. What I'm just going to do is I'll just put my own best practice here. So we'll put use headings hierarchically. Use headings hierarchically, if I can spell. Then here I'll just paste my content. Right, I don't think I'll need this anymore. Use headings hierarchically. Headings in a logical order, H1 to H6, to enhance document clarity and assist accessibility by conveying the content's organizational hierarchy. Now, we can see this usability fail in action on the legal page I opened here. I think this is it, right? This same page. So if we were to look at, let me close this for now. If I was to look at, say, this, what we're seeing is H1 and H3. There's no H2. And I think I know why this problem is persisting. It has to do with the, what do you call it, the modal. But let's just keep it moving. Since we are on the topic of usability, let me go back to the home page. There are some things I took note of. It had to do with the CTAs. This access the course. First and foremost, links. The link is used as a trigger. Let me see. This is even an accessibility problem, I believe. Okay, no, this is a button, it's fine. This one is correct. Okay, this one is not where the problem is. This is where the problem with this one is. It says access the course. And what we're saying is entire 20 lesson page builder course for free. The model does not even work well. There is no way to go out of it. And if I was to tab, you can see the background is moving. So the model is not even accessible. Then it says check out automatic CSS. Right, if you check the bottom left, you are going to see a link coming up, which means a link has been used as a button. This is an accessibility fail. Links should take you to places and buttons should do things. This is going to trigger a modal, so that's an accessibility fail. We're now getting the same stuff we saw with access the course. page builder 20, what do you call it? Get my entire 20 lesson page building course for free. That's 2. Let's take a look at frames. The same thing. Then look at the inner circle. Exactly the same thing. I really don't know how they missed all these things, but anyway, that's that. So I think we're done with accessibility here, but let me just say 1 or 2 things on accessibility. Let's just take a look at a few stuffs. Let me talk about menu, because one of the most difficult things to code well is menu. The first thing I want to even talk about, let me pull out. When you are building a landmark, say maybe main, navigation, content center, content info, footer, whatever it is, do not name the landmark. Do not put the name of the landmark in the landmark. So this one should have just been primary or primary menu, but it's named primary navigation. So assistive tech is going to say navigation, primary navigation. Now we don't need that. Now let's look at a few issues I found in the menu. Number 1 is the close modal button. You know what? Let's just go through this. Let's go through this. So let me tab. If I open this, let me come to this particular. If my event video was on, probably you would hear clickable, you won't see a button. But let's take a look. Let's just fix it. Why not? I don't want this to be very long, but I mean, so this is it here. As you can see, it has a tab index of 0. That's why I can reach it. But it says div. This should be a button. Now, in some instances where you make stuff button, the default design will come up. I can already see white background and stuff. So probably maybe you don't want to fix it that way. You could just use aria. So what you just do is come back here. We add an attribute. We add an attribute of role equals button. So this will not change the looks, but at least it's now going to be a semantic object. And the second issue is I think it was let me see, what do you call this, area controls. Area controls. So here we have a button. They got it right. But the problem is it does not attach to anything. It's supposed to control a particular object and you target that object using the ID. Here it just says equals navigation. So this is also going to be an accessibility fail. Improper use of aria. If you do not know what you are doing, do not use aria. It's actually going to be embarrassing. The next thing I want to talk about is, even though this might not be a 2.0 AA failure, but when we get to the inner circle here, I'm on the inner circle. Just close your eyes for 2 seconds. 1, 2, open and try to look for the focused item. You're not going to find it. So this focus is very poor. And speaking about focus, let me scroll to the bottom. Right, so here we're on privacy policy, terms of use, disclaimer. The next one is going to be home. Look at the bottom left here. Home. The next one will be about me. The next one should be videos. But there is no focus. So it also fails accessibility here. Focusable. and this is going to happen on every page, the menu and the footer. Let me just pick maybe one more item to move forward. There are a lot of accessibility issues on this website, a lot. Let's just take the last one. Right, so this is going to be labels. Usually when you click a label, it should highlight the object inside or the inputs. When you click input, click, well, I'm not getting exactly that here. So let's move, let's inspect. Come on. Right. So this label, we have a label here and we have the inputs, but they are not connected. And all you have to do is the label has to reference the ID, and the ID here is author. So this label is for the author, and that's it. If we now click name, it's going to highlight. We see email is not working, website is not working, but for name is working. So all these four fail. I think there's enough ranting on accessibility. Let's keep it moving. I think I'm done with accessibility. Website development. Development involves technical construction of websites using code, page builders, and frameworks. One link per destination, headings. Come on! Cards should. Bloody hell. To be honest, it looks like this content is being repeated via copy and paste from the cards again. This is getting embarrassing, to be honest. One link per destination. One link per destination. Or was I reading the wrong one? No, I wasn't. And heading in DOM first. I've looked at this before. Cards. Heading in DOM cards. We'll just jump this web development. It's just repeated stuff. Then UI design, consistent use of color. Can't argue with that. Consistent use of color demonstrates professionalism. It does, improves UX and UI. True. Reduces bounce rates, of course. Consistent spacing values, establish proper design rhythm, reduce confusion, and makes the site easier to use. I could agree with this. So I don't have anything. Let me see. Okay, we're almost at the end. UX, website UX design. UX design is the art of designing the experience the user is going to have on the website. I've not had a very good experience, to be honest. Poor accessibility, content is just all over the place. Content flow, conversion points, and more. So let's start. 2-click rule. Burying pages deep in the architecture harms SEO. And general website navigation. Any page should be accessible with a maximum of 2 clicks. Okay, first and foremost, I believe two things are being confused here and they've been jumbled together. In the context of UX, I think Kevin is referring to more of information architecture issue. And in the context of SEO, it has to do with crawl depth that can affect your link juice distribution and your crawl budget optimization, which if internal links are utilized properly, it doesn't matter if the content is in the 5th or 6th folder from the homepage. You can just internally link and crawlability is going to be better. But let me not get ahead of myself. Let's talk about the 2-click rule itself. It's actually referred to as the 3-click rule, not 2-click rule. It's the 3-click rule. And the 3-click rule for navigation is a concept that is not backed by any scientific study. It was made popular by Jeffrey Zedman in one of his books, Taking Your Talent to the Web. He promoted it. The 3-click rule has long been debunked by usability tests It is simply referred to as a myth in the UX world. Some examples of sources that have debunked it are one, Chris Wright in his 2010 article on cmswire.com. It was titled The Myth of the 3-Click Rule. Next, you have Joshua Porter in his 2003 article on Center titled Testing the 3-Click Rule, where he called it a misdirected but well-intentioned rule, after doing a real-life case study with users. Next, we have Nelson Norman Group, the world leaders in research-based usability. There's no doubt about that. And also Jacob Nelson, in the book he co-authored Prioritizing Web Usability, also talked about it, I think in chapter 10, Presenting Page Elements or something. You can go and check. And lastly, this myth has been added as a myth on the website uxmyths.com, titled All Pages Should Be Accessible in 3 Clicks. And as stated in this particular post on uxmyths.com, what really counts is the ease of navigation and the constant sense of navigation along the user's path. In his book, Don't Make Me Think, Steve Krog also agreed users do not mind the number of clicks if they are following the scent of information. His second law of usability states, it does not matter how many times I have to click as long as each click is a mindless, unambiguous choice. So the 3-click rule is old, unofficial, and should not be used in modern day web design as a rule for navigation. So Kevin putting this here and recommending this is just honestly in bad taste, very, very bad taste. This has been debunked. It's nothing but a myth. Now, with respect to SEO, the best practice has to do with the crawl depth of content. For websites employing flat structure, which I talked about earlier on, physical hierarchical structures rather than virtual ones. So you have your website / category / search engine SEO / link building / you now have like 5-6 layers deep. There has to be another way to reach this, because most websites that have been checked, robots don't crawl efficiently past the 5th or 6th folder. So if you have this type of deep folder structure, what you do is, if you have very important content, you try to link from top level content. So even though your folder structure is 6 levels, 7 levels deep, your crawl line is going to be lower than that. So I guess this guideline is just rooted in the consideration of crawlability and managing crawl budget. A web page might be several clicks away from the home page or navigation, like I'm just saying, and however, it can still meet the criterion of being within 3 clicks from the home page if it is internally linked from a page that is within 2 clicks or less from the home page. This has to do with internal link optimization. This is a separate aspect of SEO itself. The next one says scannable content. Most users scan websites. Okay, I agree with this one. Readable line length. I want to try and wrap this up. It's already getting too long. Now, readable line length, this helps a lot with readability, and if you are trying to be very accessible, you are trying to hit, I think is a success criteria 147, 148. One of them, I think, is 148 AAA. If that's what you are trying to do, then the width can be no more than 80 characters. So even for accessibility, this is very good, but trying to hit AAA throughout your whole page is not recommended. Just try to do the one you can, and this is one I think you should. The next one is 2-action rule. Asking the user to do too many things causes confusion and bounces. Limit desired actions to one or more options. 2-actions rule. To be honest, I'm not aware of any 2-action rule, but if I understand the explanation, it refers to choice. If that's the case, if it's choice is talking about, then it is in relation to Hicks' law, or what they call Hick-Hyman's law, which states the more options available to a person, the longer it will take to decide which option is best. And in some cases, too much options can lead to analysis paralysis and decision fatigue. So I don't know if that's what I was talking about. If that's it, fine. If that's not it. Multiple calls to action per page. The user should never have to poke around. Alright, the user shouldn't have to poke around to figure out how to convert. Calls to action should be obvious and plentiful. Obvious, less plentiful. Now, by plentiful, he could mean 2 things. I'll try to explain them, then we'll check his site and see which one he is referring to. In general, having 2 call to actions, call to actions is typically enough, a primary and secondary. The primary CTA can be strategically placed in various locations on the page, such as in the navigation, like we saw earlier on with the inner circle CTA, above the fold. It could be above the fold, it could be after establishing trust within your content, and also as the final element on the page before the footer. However, it is not advisable to incorporate multiple CTAs requesting different actions, because I think that might even be what he's trying to say here, different actions. So if you have too many CTAs asking to do different things, then this can lead to confusion for users, making it challenging for them to discern the page's intent, or the page's intent. So let's look at the home page here and see what is he talking about. Does he mean one CTA multiple places, or different CTAs doing different things? So let's take a look here. So we have the inner circle, that's one. We have join my list, that's a different thing. Hire me is a different thing. Already we have 3 different CTAs. Excuse me. Access the course, a different CTA. 4. Check out digital gravy, which will take you, okay, I think it's the same site, but I think it's supposed to take you to digital gravy website. That's what 5 different CTAs. Check out automatic CSS, a whole different CTA. Look at frames, a whole different CTA. Inner circle, a whole different CTA. Subscribe to YouTube, come on man. Then join the inner circle again. So I think he has contradicted himself, but he's asking people to do too many things. And even though you can have one CTA in strategic places, you are not supposed to have 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 CTAs on one page. Definitely this is not it. So this advice is incorrect. Please don't take this advice, right? So to end this video, I want to look at core web vitals for the homepage in PageSpeed Insights. That's what I have here. Let's just take a look. Failed. This is not good. Now, Bricks is a fast builder that outputs good code. So I wonder why this site is failing core web vitals. I think what will happen is, in my next video, I'll be explaining the misconceptions surrounding builders that produce bloated code and how they are responsible for failing core web vitals. This site is failing core web vitals, and I don't see any deception in the code, at least outside loading HTML code on pages where they are not even used or needed. Like some models I did not even look into. I didn't have time because it's already getting late. So like I was saying, these page builders usually just get attacked for producing bloated code, or as people call it, unclean code, when we have a website failing core web vitals, and that's not the issue. But in my other video, I'm going to explain the relationship between deception, HTML, bloated code, and how it even affects page load speed. So to summarize this mini audit, because there was a lot of stuff we found, this was just like a summary touching almost every aspect of it. I didn't even touch SEO. So to summarize, in our audit we found filler content, lorem ipsum, and a lot of repeated copy and paste text. We found very poor or non-existent copywriting. We saw multiple accessibility fails, we saw multiple confusing CTAs, and we saw Kevin recommending UX myths that have been debunked in the name of the 2-click rule. Now, why it is good to have processes that make you more efficient as a web developer, like building websites that are maintainable, scalable, and dynamic. These are not measurable KPIs and will not be the basis of evaluation of any website like we have just seen today. It will be better to build a hard-to-scale and maintainable website that converts, gets traffic, and makes millions of dollars, like a few number of Elementor and Divi sites that I know of, than to make a scalable and maintainable website that sits on the 6th page of Google with very bad copy and 0 conversions. Clients do not care about your tools or your processes, just the end result. Are you making them money? That's what matters. So Kevin, if you are watching, hit us up and we could help you out. There's a lot of stuff we did not highlight just to save time. And so to everyone else, if you learned something new, let us know in the comment section. Like the video. If you did not learn anything generally disapprove of this video and feel like you have corrections to make, feel free to thumbs down and put your corrections or recommendations, and we'll update our knowledge base. Facts do not care about feelings, and we have provided as much as we could in this mini audit. On behalf of Sandra's organization, I am AD, Head of R&D. Thank you for your time.